Come explore our world of coffee. DeLuna Coffee was founded in 2014 by Ed and Courtney Lemmix alongside their son, Brett. The delicious DeLuna blends are a product of Ed's discerning palate for the finest coffee beans on the planet, and Brett's business acumen has them on the national radar for quality. Savor the simplicity of Graffiti Bridge. 100% Colombian beans roasted to a city roast for optimal flavor. Ed and Brett are both FSU alums and are extending a special offer to our listeners. Use the promo code WARCHANT15 for a 15% discount. Visit thelunacoffee.com and check out their Facebook and Instagram.
From Tally to Cali,
It's time
to wake up.
wake up, wake up. WarChant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, fueled by DeLuna Coffee.
Coffee's for closers only.
Now here's WarChant.com's Aslan Hutchavandi.
And Corey Clark.
Way up! What's up, everybody? It's Wake Up Warchant. It's fueled by DeLuna Coffee, DeLunaCoffee.com. Come explore our world of coffee. Bring that promo code with you. It's WarChant15, the numeral 15, WarChant15, DeLunaCoffee.com. You can't go wrong. Maybe get the White Sands, Beach and Blend, $15.59. That's what your guy rolls with over here. Corey drinks all of it. I'm a little bit more persnickety, but Corey drinks all of it. Hit the thumbs up button if you're listening to us on YouTube. That would be much appreciated. Maybe even subscribe to the YouTube page. It's totally free. And you need to be on the YouTube page, everybody. You got to be a subscriber. That's just, you have to be a subscriber to warchant.com. But by being a subscriber to YouTube, you can just stay kind of in touch. You can grow a little closer to Corey Clark. Watch him on Seminole Headlines later today, 1 to 3 p.m. with Ira Schofel and Jeff Cameron. Watch Ira hanging out in his house, talking to Jeff Cameron, hanging out in his house on the Sunday Smash. Watch Tom and Jeff grow closer to us. You can only do that with the YouTube channel, so hop on that. Corey Clark hopped in his car, drove all the way down to Tallahassee, Florida on Monday. He's here for us now. After being in Chapel Hill Saturday, Friday, road warrior. At what point, there's got to be, I'm sure there's all these moments as a father. You probably did something, you had like an aha moment when you're in your 20s and you kind of talk to your dad like, hey, thanks, man. Like, now I get it. And he was probably so damn happy. Is anything going to rival that moment when Brady realized, like, damn, all those years you drove from Tallahassee to Atlanta, all those years? Like, that's cool, Dad. You're the man. That's going to be like the highlight of your life, I think. Right? That'll be like a top 5 moment. It would be for me if I'm projecting myself into your shoes. Big shoes. Big
as
shoes.
long as he's saying it from like the podium of the Major League Baseball draft.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? It's got to be. I don't want him to be like, out of a job and living in my basement and thanking me. I'm going to feel like, well, I feel like I let you down somehow there, big guy. No, and I didn't get really to say it to my dad because I think a lot of people listen to this that have kids. You don't really realize what your parents did for you until you go through what they went through with you. And so Brady was 3 when my dad passed away. I would love to I would certainly thank my dad and my mom profusely for how they handled young teenage Corey Clark. Anyway, really from 3 to high school, end of high school, is like that's what a treacherous gap that is. What a treacherous stretch that is. So I certainly appreciate what my parents did. Now that I'm living it, you appreciate it even more.
Dude, he looks so grown in that photo of him and Drake at the North Carolina game this past weekend.
That was Devin Travis. That was Devin Travis, not Drake. It would have been cool if Drake was there. What if Drake just showed up at just really random, under-the-radar sporting events? That was like the number 14 best game of the day on Saturday, but Drake's rolling in Chapel Hill. Not even at Duke, Georgia Tech. He man, it's crazy. Sometimes you'll look, today when I hugged him by, I'm like, man, he's coming up. I think I got him for maybe another year, and he's going to be bigger than I am. He's getting there. He's already as tall as his mom, taller, I think, and he's going to be as tall as me in a year probably. It's crazy. It's crazy how fast they grow.
The roots. He's a bamboo. He's going to be shooting through the roof.
You ain't lying. It's going to sprout. That's what his doctor said. He got all fired up when he went to he had a checkup the other day, and she was telling him how much he's grown in the last 2 months. and that bodes well for him really hitting a growth spurt here soon, like a big one.
I told you, he's only going to be 5'8". Man, come on, stay optimistic. I always had faith, man. Come on.
Well, right now he's like in the I don't know, like the 70th percentile for his age and height. So I'm like, all right, well, what does that mean? Like 6'1", maybe? Maybe he grows to be 6'1". And hey, if you get a Clark up to 6'1", buddy, it's lights out. It's a wrap.
There we
With
go.
our athleticism and everything else we got going for us, come on.
Bo Jackson, 21st century version. Let's go.
That's right.
All right, so you were busy typing away, transcribing the press conferences that we had on Monday with Mike Norvell, Kenny Dillingham, Adam Fuller, and John Papuchis in that order. That specific order is when they all came. Good feelings, good vibes. I do like how he continually checks himself. And not even, I don't know if it's Norvell as much as kind of everybody. Well, it's mostly Norvell. Kenny mentioned it once or twice, I think, too, just about they're not where they want to be at all. But we're happy with how we're coming along. That, to me, that's kind of the takeaway I've had from a few of these, even after the Syracuse game, too. Like, you're allowed to be happy that you won a football game. Like, by all means, the Powerade thing, I don't know. I don't really know how I would feel about that.
But I do like, it really doesn't matter to me one way or the other, quite honestly. But with that, it wasn't like he embraced it. He really didn't want that to happen.
Yeah.
He looked at the players like, please don't do this. I don't know if they showed that on TV. I saw a different vantage point from somebody that was there on Twitter, and he turned to those guys and no, let's not do this. And then I think when he turned his back, they did it anyway. They wanted to celebrate. It's fun. That's how you celebrate. It's crazy that that's still a thing, right? It's 30. It's 35 years. The Giants started it for the '86 Super Bowl champs. It was 35 years ago, Aslan.
I don't understand.
Anyway, go ahead.
I don't understand of all the just all right, let's just congratulations. Let's just dump a bunch of water on him. It doesn't compute. I would not.
Why not throw footballs at him? Do something different. Probably not footballs. Maybe throw the net. Put the net on him, like the kicking net. There's got or the bag with all the balls. Throw that bag on. Do something different besides just dumping liquid on the coach. It's tired. It's like these recruits today, Aslan. They're not all just sitting at a podium picking up hats anymore, are they? They've changed. They've upped the game.
That's true.
But when it comes to getting on the sideline and celebrating a win, there's a lot of stuff to choose from, and you just pick the easiest one, the one you've always seen. Anyway, back to your point you were trying to make about Norvell.
They're staying grounded, happy with where they're going, not happy with where they are. So I kind of like that he, because there's it's you got to win. You want to talk about a win. I get it. Nobody wants to talk about losses, and you just won a game, so why not talk about the most current recent event that's happening? So that's kind of my takeaway from Monday. Just he continues. There's no victory laps, which is all right, good. Because I feel like at some points, and I remember in 19, I'm looking at the schedule from 19. I remember after they beat NC State, so they beat Louisville. Well, here's the thing. I guess you guys don't remember, which you're all fair to go ahead and purge it out of your minds. They lose to Boise State 36-31. You beat Louisiana Monroe by 1 point. You go and play Virginia, who I think was ranked 20th on the road. You lose by 1 possession. Then you come back. You beat Louisville by 2 scores. You beat NC State by 3 scores. And then you have an off week. And there's this talk of hey, man, they just won back-to-back ACC games for the first time since 2016. And then, you play Clemson. That doesn't go right. They lost to Clemson 45-14, Corey. They lose to Wake by 2, beat Syracuse by 3 scores, losing Miami, guy loses his job. If you don't live things, this is probably why we should never really look at box scores. I really give you credit for going for your upset column, talking about games from the 60s like you weren't even alive for these games. I'm good for Corey having the confidence in knowing about Florida State lore to talk about the events that he wasn't around for. But I was around for this stuff. And you look at the box score, man, we really did that, huh? We fired a guy after all that.
It's funny you brought that up because I went to my man Femrau. I went to his. He was tweeting out his.
You want to bring him on the show? I'm
going
to try to email Walt Bell so we can get Walt Bell on the show. You want me to email your guy Femrau if he'll come on while I'm at it?
So, but what I think was interesting is last year Florida State. Right now their offense and in the efficiency rating is 48th or 45th, something like that. Last year it was in the 90s. The defense has gone from 103 to 61. The overall efficiency has gone from I wish I had the numbers in front of me. I apologize. but like it's gone up 40 spots, 45 spots. And if you look around, in that, what it means is Florida State last year was inefficiency in the FemRow rankings, and trust me, it bores me to even say this stuff. I'm sure it's boring to hear about. Records is all that matters. I get it. But Florida State in his rankings was about the 101st, 102nd best team in the country. Right now, they're in the 50s, which I think if you look at this team, that's probably fair, right? Like they won a game on a last-second play. They lost 2 games on a last-second play. They had a good win. They had a bad loss. Like they're a middle-of-the-road team right now. But they made a jump from where they were last year. And again, we have to remember they didn't have to play Clemson and Florida last year. So take that 3-6 and make it at least 3-8 with awful losses. But I was looking at it because it got me thinking, okay, that's a pretty big jump. That's a 40-spot jump in efficiency ratings. And the season's not over, so we'll see that they finish up. From 18, the 2018 Florida State team finished like 84th in efficiency or 88th, somewhere like that. And the 2019 team went up 30 spots. It was making progress. You know what I mean? When you dissect that 19 season, you know, the only game they barely lost in 18 was the Miami game.
Yes.
Which they blew there at the end. All the other ones were just train wrecks. Those games in 19, other than the Miami game, you know, you blew Boise State. You blew the Virginia game, or at least you lost the Virginia game closely. You lost the Wake Forest game by 2 points. So if you could look at it and say, man, the program is actually making strides, it's just the record's going to be the same. And now it's almost as if the goalposts have changed because the record's going to be about the same that it was last year, essentially. Maybe you have 1 or 2 extra wins. But the team looks so much better that he's going to get the benefit of the doubt there because they have made sudden, obvious improvement. And I thought you could say that with Taggart in 19. He also had to bring in a new OC after 1 year. And there were the things he did at the end of the game.
Seven-figure OC.
You know, the Miami game was awful. And it's crazy that Jordan Travis just wasn't on the radar at all. Just crazy. But then what he did at the end of the Wake Forest game that we all remember with the calling a timeout to avoid a delay game, to attempt a 52-yard field goal that I had a better shot of making than Ricky Aguayo, losing that game then. And then also the Boise State debacle, the Virginia
yards
at the end of the game, that craziness, the Louisiana Monroe calling a timeout to punt. Like there's all those things that he did where I think the administration was like, okay, this is a mistake, even though the product looks a little better. I think now, I don't even know what my point is there. But I do think we forget that 19 team did take a few strides, just not nearly enough for people at the time who got rid of Willie Taggart. Now they're sticking with Norvell. They should stick with Norvell. And I think his team is making even more strides than they did from 18 to 19. And I think you believe in this guy, mainly because of that recruiting class, man. If Willie had been tearing it up on the recruiting trail with that 19 team, like preaching, look how much we've gotten better in 1 year. We're coming. We're going to be a bowl team this year, and we might be a really good team in 2020. If he had that recruiting class, and if he had any semblance of a good recruiting class, he's probably still the head coach. But he was getting killed on the recruiting trail, and Mike Norvell's not. So that was a long-winded way of just sucking up about 6 minutes of the show.
Thank you. I can't do that stuff. It's a skill. My skills include editing the show and trying to figure out other ways to talk about the team. Need to start picking out like a soundbite of the Monday that kind of catches my ear. I mean, nothing's going to top the 0-4 rant that Norvell used. Again, hey, man, that and the bamboo, these are being logged in a place somewhere in a dark corner in Bristol, Connecticut at ESPN for game day when they'll be in Tallahassee, hopefully in the next year or so, about when everything kind of turned around. But on Monday, it was Ira's question to Kenny about playing well on the road and how much that could help out because the road's been a bit of a house of horrors for this program, even before these guys got here. And I thought Kenny's answer a little bit illuminating, but more than anything, Corey, I just found it a little bit entertaining and humorous. So I'm just go ahead and play it for us now.
I mean, we have meetings on offense, and Thursday or Friday, I went into the offense and I said, well, we've been absolutely atrocious on the road. So what are we going to do to change it? So that's the facts. I said, you're 17-point dogs. Why? We deserve it. I mean, I think we've lost games on the road by like 50. I mean, I don't know, too many, right? So what are we going to do to change it? Is it going to be you going to somebody's room at night in the hotel room and watching tape? Is it going to be on the plane ride, you looking at your tips and alert for 15 extra minutes? I don't know what it is, right? I don't have a secret sauce that says play better on the road. There's not a secret sauce. It's about the work. So what are you going to do from now until game day, the next 36 hours, that is different than you've ever done on the road? And to be honest, that speech probably had no bearing. Our dudes just prepared really well, right? But it just sounds good, to say it.
Exactly, man. They've improved. I don't know how much of it is. I don't know if it's not scheme. It's just finally these guys have some stuff is kind of clicking. So I don't know, Corey, how much of this improvement is to be excited about, should we be excited about, and how much of it is just hoping that who knows how high this climb is going to go, but maybe we just don't revert back to what we saw last year, and we don't revert back to, first half Louisville, don't revert back to Jacksonville State. I think more than anything, I guess it's both of those things, because you would have to improve, obviously, to avoid that stuff. I just don't want that. I just don't want to move backwards, man. If you can tell me that stuff is out of the system of this team, that'll make me feel better than any kind of, upshot else that you could give me at this point, I feel like.
Yeah, man. I think there is reason to be optimistic. I think these last 2.5 games that they played, going back, they were down 31-7 to Louisville. Not a great Louisville team by any stretch. That's about as low as, Ira joked at it when it was 31-7. He was wondering about what other career he could get into at this stage of his life, because if you don't know, Ira's very, very old. So he doesn't have a lot of time left.
He's not.
But it was that bad. It was awful. It was 31-7 with no real hope. But they had that last drive before the half against Louisville. And like I said on the postgame, they've been a pretty decent team the last 2.5 games. Pretty darn decent. Like 8 or 9 winish the way they played these last 2.5 weeks. They still did some things. The drop punt against Syracuse, the missed block by Cam McDonald, those are still things that you have to wait a while to get them completely out of the system. But they've played winning football, good football. Again, Syracuse isn't a joke. They're not good. I don't know if they'll make a bowl, but these are the teams that Florida State's been struggling with everyone. Like Bobby Bowden said in 1976, beat anybody. Well, they beat Syracuse. Syracuse beat Liberty, who's a pretty good team, and took Wake Forest to overtime. Like Wake Forest is like number 15 in the country or whatever they are. They're undefeated. So Syracuse is a good, quality, decent football program. Decent. I shouldn't say good.
Team.
Yeah, team, yes. Program has been a train wreck since old Jim Brown left. But the team this year is decent. So to win that game and to go win comfortably up at North Carolina, yeah, it doesn't seem flukish. It really doesn't. Going back for whatever reason to that last drive before the half against Louisville, Florida State has been the better team on every field it's been on. I thought it was better than Syracuse, man. I think there were some goofy plays, and that quarterback, they did not play that quarterback well on a couple of plays, but I thought Florida State was clearly a better team than Syracuse, and I think they were definitely a clearly better team that day than North Carolina. I thought they controlled that game. That's not fluky. It's not like they got a pick six, and they got a drop pass, and they got a blocked punt, and they did all these other things to miracle themselves a win. They just lined up and outplayed these teams, especially North Carolina. Just straight up outplayed them. They went on a 35-7 run in that game. Florida State hasn't done that since Jameis left. It feels like. So I think there's real reason that the ascent has started. Now it could look like those NASA videos from the early '60s when they were testing the rockets, and one rocket will go up and then it'll crash back down to Earth, or the capsule will blow up and all that stuff. Like, there's still going to be some hiccups. It's not an ascent to the moon. Like, there's going to be some growing pains before you land on the moon. What an analogy this is, gang. This came out of nowhere. 1961, they're just still trying to lift off these Mercury rockets. They're blowing up all over Florida. Just shrapnel everywhere. 8 years later, they're on the moon. So they say. Quote unquote, right? Right. They're on the moon 8 years later. So that's kind of where I'm probably wrong on the timeline there when they started these rockets blowing up. But the point being, there's going to be some hiccups along the way. But you feel like it's started. The ascent back. I don't know how high it gets, but the slide has stopped. The hydroplaning has stopped, and I feel like these last 2.5 weeks have given you real hope that there's some traction here. There's some traction here. I really do think that. I think the fact that they didn't have to just completely out-scheme North Carolina. They just kind of controlled them. They didn't do anything too fancy. Jordan Travis is good at the zone read. They got 2 really good backs. They didn't do anything extra special. They didn't do anything outlandish. They just lined up and beat them. That's good on the road, like Dillingham said, something they hadn't done in a long time. They're used to getting pummeled on the road. So look, there will still be some losses this year. There will be 2 steps forward, 1 step back. But if you keep going 2 steps forward and 1 step back, eventually you're going to get to where you want to go. You're still making progress. It's just not going to be 20 steps forward. But I feel like these last 2 weeks have been, the last 2.5 weeks have been 2 steps forward. Maybe 3 steps forward. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel much better about these wins than I did about like Louisville and NC State back in 18 or 19. Like I remember 18, like them beating Wake at home, and it's like, hey man, just beat Wake Forest by 2-3 scores. Like, Jimbo last year struggled against Wake Forest, and it's like, well, come on, I know we're doing what we got to do right now to make it through, but I wasn't all that excited about how things were looking then, but. Yeah, but that North Carolina.
How much did it matter, too, like 18 and 19, just the quarterback play? Like, there was nothing to be excited about with the quarterback play. And then they bring in Hornibrook, who I had made fun of before I had any idea he'd wind up at Florida State. I just think you feel better about the most important position on the field. Maybe a lot better. I know not everybody's sold on Jordan Travis, but no matter what, like if somebody comes in next year and beats out Jordan Travis, whether it's Chuba or A.J. Duffy or some hotshot transfer, Spencer Rattler.
Yeah.
Where are you at, my man?
Max Johnson.
What are you going to be doing?
Max Johnson get out of Baton Rouge, come home, do what Dow was doing.
I'm not thinking Max Johnson starts at Florida State. But if something like that happens, if you're good enough to beat out Jordan Travis in August, well, then you're good. Either way, the quarterback position, I think, could actually be in 2022. You look at it. Either Jordan Travis keeps improving like he is, or even if he doesn't, he's still a decent to good college quarterback in the right system, which this seems to be. So if you come in and beat him out, well, you're good. You're set at quarterback. You're going to have good quarterback play next year. Whether it's Jordan Travis running around doing what Jordan Travis does and run the zone read, or somebody else that really knows the system well and can thrive in that system. That's what gives me more excitement. Plus the line, a lot of the line is coming back. They're running. Maybe that's another thing too. It felt like in 19, a lot of that was just the brilliance of Cam Akers, and you knew the line was.
Tamori and Terry had a pretty strong.
And Terry helped too. But you that's a really good point. So Terry had a great season. Wasn't that the 1,200-yard season? Yeah. So you had 2 legitimate playmakers. Akers was on the team in 19, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So you had Akers and Terry. Terry, say what you will about him now. Obviously, that dream has died. But he was an NFL talent, a big-time player out wide. Yeah. So you had guys like that. Now you're kind of the guts are better, right? The engine is better because you're running for 200 yards against almost everyone. And that to me is something that you just build on. That's not you're not throwing it 60 times and maybe hitting some big plays. You're just running on everyone. And most of those guys come back next year. That line, not a great line, but certainly good enough to average 200 yards rushing. So pretty good. And that I think just it feels a little more like projectable. Like, okay, what they're doing now, it's not smoke and mirrors. They can continue to do this, continue to build this identity, and get better and better as they move forward. Again, this year, if you want to call it a lost year, I don't. But this year isn't probably going to end with a bowl. It's not going to end in a winning season. You played too poorly there for a stretch, a 3-game stretch there, for that to happen. But I think you see the building blocks of something that could be something next year and then the year after that. But running a bad team averaging 200 yards on the ground in any Power 5 conference is pretty darn impressive. And there's no reason to think it won't keep being this for the foreseeable future.
Ladies, gentlemen, are you interested in investing in cryptocurrencies? Why not? You want to diversify your portfolio. You want to build wealth. Well, you don't know where to get probably started when it comes to crypto. It's a little bit confusing. Check out the Kraken app, Kraken. With that app, you can buy and sell over 50 of the most popular cryptos. You know them already: Dogecoin, Ethereum, even Bitcoin, all in the palm of your hand. It's easy to get started. Just download that app. It's called Kraken, obviously. Create an account. You can invest in minutes. And even though Bitcoin's over 56,000 American dollars right now, you can't afford one coin unless you're like Ray Pereira. You can throw $10 down, get started, and then we can revisit this in like 6 months, a year, 2, and we can just see how wealthy you've become, all because of the Kraken app and Wake Up Warchant. Find out for yourself why Kraken has seen and become one of the highest rated places to buy crypto for the last 10 years. Visit kraken.com/warchant or search for Kraken in the App Store. On the quarterback thing too, Corey, that's so encouraging. Even though I'm not the biggest Jordan Travis proponent, I mean, some people think I'm trying to sabotage a kid. I'm not trying to sabotage a kid. I don't know how to talk about him without making it sound like I'm sabotaging him. So,
but isn't it cool that you know that this past Saturday is in there?
Well, we saw that last year though, did we not?
But not like that. I don't think it looked quite like
better.
that.
Yeah. I mean, North
you know
Carolina,
what I mean? But he also looked like there was more of a calm presence. Running the zone read, sure, but also a couple of the third down throws. He stayed in the pocket. He hit Keyshawn on that little crossing route. It just looked a little different. I mean, he still was a productive player last year, but to know a game like that is in there in him. I thought he was a wild card guy. Like he was still putting up points. He could average 30 a game, but it would be hiccups, ups and downs, 3 and out, 70-yard touchdowns, 3 and out, 70-yard touchdown, interception, 3 and out, touchdown. This was 3 and out, and then essentially 5 touchdowns on the next 6 drives. Yep. When it mattered. And then they had to punt there late because they were just running the ball to try to run clock. But I didn't know that was in there. That he could look quite that poised and calm. It's not going to be that every week. He's got Death Valley in the swamp waiting for him. But it's good to know. I didn't know that was attainable. And Dillingham, like you said, well, I don't think you did, but Dillingham talked about how he's still not even close to what he can be. So again, there might be. He said he's got a chance to be special, and if that Saturday was something clicked, where he can look that calm in the pocket, trust that line a little bit more, let things develop in the middle of the field, well, man, you got yourself a real weapon. So anyway, I'm sorry I interrupted you. Go ahead.
No, fine. I still don't think that was a really good defense, but again, credit him no matter what for actually making things happen, him putting stress on them. I mean,
because it hasn't mattered. It hasn't mattered lately what kind of defense they face.
Well,
it's a better defense than Jacksonville State's.
Right. But the things I find encouraging about that is, again, this is his skill set's not something that this staff is accustomed to. The fact that they're able to kind of adapt and make it work, and there's so many things that they've practiced with him that we've seen that they have not used. I mean, there's so many different ways.
Tell us something.
Well,
give us. I'm just kidding.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, if you think that they're just going to run read option with him and try to just lull defense to sleep and then hit him over the top, but there's all sorts of different ways they can use him running and throwing the ball that we haven't seen them actually run in a game yet, but they practice that kind of stuff. So that is really encouraging. And I guess to your point about you see Jordan perform that way, so you know he has that in him. That makes you feel encouraged. I remember when we were kind of trying to go through everything with Willie in 18 and 19, it was about, do they look better now than they did we're in week 8, for example. Did they look better than they did week 1? And, you guys are like, what? You don't – because I'm not looking for this slow trajectory sort of thing. I'm like, I need to see examples that I can piece together into a puzzle that, like, okay, this is a championship winning kind of formula and guy, and we're going to be able to do it with this dude. And it wasn't so much like a week 1 to week. I'd find that out in the progress you make from week 1 to week 12. You can have a great game week 5 and then play bad week 8. I'm not going to penalize you all that much. That's why I felt so good about that Miami game in 18, because despite how bad they looked before that, I was like, all right, man, they're 2 touchdown underdogs playing against a pretty good Miami team. We gave them no chance at all, and they get a punt return touchdown. They're converting third and longs like left and right, like nobody's business in the first half, the first 3 quarters of the game. And even though they lost the way they did, it was like, well, hey man, they played hard against a rival on the road, and they had every if they just find a way to not drop their quarterback back and keep throwing the ball when they have no reason to and get out of their own way, they'll be okay. So it's like, let me just give me some just morsels of like hope that can give me some puzzle piece I can put together that's going to look like a program that can string together like 10-win seasons again. And that's what you get upset about. Like, 10 wins, not enough. Because again, I don't know how high this thing is going to go, but yeah, that's a big part of it to see a quarterback play that well in a road game, something that no one has done for a long time. So those are the sort of things I walk away from after speaking to him. And the last thing too, like Dillingham, this is me maybe trying to create drama where it's not drama, but the way he said, and he kind of volunteered, and somebody asked me a question about Jordan Travis, and he's like, yeah, you guys all know I'm a huge fan of Jordan Travis.
Yeah.
Was kind of like, to me, I think we should have been probably doing this a lot earlier, everybody. Just want I can't say that, but I'm kind of saying it right now. So that I found a little bit interesting.
I would like 5 years from now when all of us, the Warchant crew and the coaches, are celebrating probably back in Norvell's suite after they beat Alabama for the national championship and whatever that their third straight playoff win and they beat Alabama for the national championship. To ask them over some beers or champagne, we'll probably be dumping champagne on each other.
Yep.
What in the world would the Jacksonville State game? Well, I think the statute of limitations will be up. Well, we'll be like, that's just crazy that you put. What I would really want to know: did you play Mackenzie Milton because Tom Rinaldi came to town?
Tom Rinaldi's no longer with ESPN. It was
whoever they did. Sorry, I can't. That's always my go-to. Whoever they did the story with, like, what was the real reasoning there that you played Mackenzie Milton? Was it just because you're trying to get the fans excited? Or what? What? Because it was such a cool story. That would be really cool 5 years from now to get the real story on that. Because even that week after the Notre Dame game, Dillingham was defending Jordan tooth and nail.
Yeah.
To the detractors, talking about the story I wrote last week, which, by the way, usually when I write those stories, like pointing out somebody's having a better year than you think and is on a roll and all this, they usually go, they have the worst game of the season right after that. But my man Jordan Travis made me look prophetic.
Yes.
That was nice. I appreciate that more than anything. But, he was defending Jordan Travis tooth and nail even after that Notre Dame game because I think he understands better than any of us, just what his impact has on an offense because of what it does to the defense. He can see how a defense defends Jordan Travis compared to how it defends a mere mortal athlete at quarterback, and it's just different. It just opens up more things. I mean, they've hit, I don't know, 3 or 4 wide open plays with Jordan Travis at quarterback through the air that they might not with anybody else through the air. And it works well with the line, a young line, still growing, and it really works with these running backs. But yeah, I think that guy, and not just the quarterback, but that, like you touched on, this isn't a guy they've had before, a guy quite like this. But they've altered things and they've played to him. They've figured out a way to they've gotten much better at the zone read. I assume they're practicing that more, but I feel like they've catered an offense towards the talent at quarterback, as opposed to sometimes the square peg in the round hole trying to put the quarterback. Nope, I'm not changing my offense. You've got to figure out my offense, not vice versa. They figured out what Jordan Travis does well, and they're using it. That's what good coaches do. I'm not going to throw a parade for these guys yet. They're still 2-4, but that's a good sign, right? That's a good sign moving forward that they're not just so stubborn to the point that they won't make a change to fit the athletes that they have, not the athletes they want. And right now, I don't know if Jordan Travis is the guy they really, really want at quarterback in 2023, but he's certainly their best option right now, and they've done a good job fitting the offense towards him.
2023, what are you already jumping ahead to 2022? Are you jumping past it? What's going on with that?
Well, I'm thinking when you're making your run at the championship, is sophomore A.J. Duffy a better chance, or redshirt senior wily veteran Jordan Travis, or Chubba? Who knows where Chubba is? Hey, I wanted to talk about Fuller though, real quick. Number one, what'd you think of the him talking Fabian Lovett asking Malcolm Ray to start? Like going to Higgins and saying he wanted Malcolm Ray to start.
Yeah, like going all Rudy on him, like, Coach, like, here's my jersey. Put Rudy in.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, I don't know.
I want Malcolm to play for me, Coach.
Again, all the romanticism of sport has pretty much been sucked out of my soul.
I love that stuff, though.
I do want to believe it.
I love.
Yeah, it is. But that what I'm trying to get there. But Corey jumped to the heart of the matter. Look at
Sorry.
that long-winded Corey Clark jumping to the point when I'm trying to be long-winded. Amazing how that works out sometimes. Yeah, no, that's the kind of stuff that when I'm talking to like the Devontae Love Taylor before he does trench talk and like we're just kind of shooting the breeze before we get him on. You hear him talk about just like how much they believe in each other, how much they believe in the staff, and you're like, yeah, whatever. I get it. He really, he likes us. He looks at us like more than players. He really cares about who we are. It's like, all right, cool, man. I just want to win. But you can get there. You can be different. You don't have to be Nick. You don't have to be Kirby. You don't have to be cold. Hopefully this guy's proving that. I mean, you and I are kind of have said as much. But yeah, for a guy like Fabian to, in a game like that, which, for where Florida State's at, that was a big game. That was a big opportunity. That was a big stage.
And down 2 linemen already with Jarrett Jackson and Dennis Briggs not being there.
Yeah, to see, for him to have the self-awareness, I guess, to see what Malcolm is doing in practice, to your point, knowing that they're kind of limited in the amount of bodies they have, to want to kind of reward him. And Fuller said it too, if you played on a team, like, starting is a big deal. There's a little bit of a luster to it. So yeah, for Fabian, a guy that really has no business not being on the field, to kind of step out and want to help the team out or his teammate out in that kind of fashion. Maybe it's a culture thing, or maybe it's a real thing.
I'm glad you said that. I do think that stuff matters, man. It wasn't Odell saying this is what we need. This is what Malcolm needs. He needs to feel confident. We're going to make him the starter. Fabian's going to play the majority of the reps anyway, but we still want to start. I want to start Malcolm. It was Fabian going and suggesting start Malcolm Ray. That to me, man. And by the way, Fabian was a beast in that game.
Yes.
That dude might have been the best player on the defense in that. I mean, he was all over the place. Him and Cooper are playing an exceptionally high level, and we all know what the 2 DNs are doing.
Lovett was third highest graded defensive guy behind Jari.
Oh man, he made a couple plays, including one in the when they got down on the 4th down, when they got stopped on 4th down. That series when they got inside the 10, he made a play where he was in the backfield in a half a second. I was just saying, he's a good football player, man.
And he's staying around. He could leave, I think, but I would be surprised if he puts his name into the NFL. So that's a guy. I think even Fuller said it too. He's a guy. Kier and Jermaine want to leave a legacy of helping this program get back to where they are. But Fabian's a guy that's still going to be here. So that's an
but I think that kind of stuff matters, man. An older guy, a better player, sticking up for one of his younger teammates, not sticking up for him, but looking out for one of his younger teammates and suggesting that. Having the confidence to do that. And it did remind me, when you brought up culture, it reminded me of, to a much lesser extent because it's not as good a team, but Leonard Hamilton always brings up when they were in, I believe it was the Xavier game, when they upset Xavier in the NCAA tournament.
We were there, Corey, you and I. Nashville. We were there.
Didn't you leave before that game? Because you broke your recorder or something?
I broke the camera.
Yeah, that was a bummer. You were there for the Missouri game.
First road trip on the Warchant dime for me, and break the camera.
I thought it was weird that you said, take this, Gene, and slammed it into a wall. That was an odd thing to do on your first trip. But hey, I was like, the new guy's got some issues. But during that game, Phil Kofer wasn't in the game in the final 5 minutes. Phil Kofer had been their best player for much of the last half of that year. He was really good. But Cabangeli was really playing well and getting some. And Leonard went. I think Kofer either went to Leonard or Leonard went to Kofer to put him back in. And Kofer's like, no, Fee's playing well. Keep him in the game. That kind of stuff matters, man. Like, it just does. It doesn't matter as much as getting a bunch of 5-star recruits, but when you're trying to flip some stuff and get players believing in their teammates and caring about their teammates and caring about their team, that kind of stuff matters. And now look at Florida State basketball. Like, you got flipping lottery picks that don't start. Like, top 5 picks that don't start. Like, and they don't care. All they care about is they know they're going to play 22 minutes and they know they're going to win, and that's all they care about is winning. And that to me was something I hadn't heard, and maybe it happens a lot more than we know. But maybe Tamori and Terry wanted to play in 2017. He's like, no. Or let the walk-on run the post route. Not me. You don't need me.
Let Jared Jackson have some shine. Monticello stand up.
Right. The other Jared Jackson, or is that Jared? That was
Jared.
Jared Jackson. Yeah. So I do think stuff like that matters, man. I hadn't heard a lot of stories coming from Florida State football over the years like that. That screamed of an FSU basketball type story. Now it's one game, and it's not, again, this team isn't winning a national championship. It's not getting to the Sweet 16 or the Final Four or anything like that. But when you're trying to build something, that kind of stuff helps. The players like each other and play hard for each other and care about the other players' performance and how they do, instead of, man,
that was Willie's idea. I mean, he said it time and time again. Like, that was his thing. Like, this team wasn't having fun. He wants these guys to play for each other.
I don't think it's fun, though. I don't think it's fun to play for Mike Norvell. I don't get that impression at all. But I think these guys care for each other. That's more of I didn't mean to say it was fun. If I did, I apologize.
And I wasn't trying to say that he's some player's coach, like letting everybody do whatever they want. I mean, there's, but
it seems like they believe in the message, right?
At
least to an extent.
That is the difference.
And you said that, like, here's the thing about guys like Jimbo and Saban. They can be cold on the practice. They're unrelenting on the practice field. It's not cold. They're unrelenting. But notice some of the tweets that came after the A&M upset win over Alabama. There were a few. DeMarcus Walker, I think, tweeted something. Jalen Ramsey tweeted something. I can't remember. There were a couple other Florida State guys that tweeted something in praise of Jimbo. Like, they liked the dude. And I don't think it's just they liked him because he won games with them. I think they liked they certainly respect his coaching acumen, but I think they believed in his message. Those guys, they happen to be on good teams. So that helped. But I think that's the thing, man. As long as you are who you are and you're not fake, players will respect you. No matter if you're a player's coach or a hard ass, they will respect you for it. I heard Ira and Jeff talking about Mickey Andrews on the Sunday Smash. Man, Mickey Andrews would say some stuff to his players during the course of a practice or a game that you would think, man, you almost should be handcuffed for that. Like, that's crazy, Mickey. But they knew he loved them. And after the game, it was a hand on their shoulder. He'd hug their neck. He'd tell them how much he loved them. And those guys would go to war for that guy because that's who he was. They built that. Like, he wasn't fake. And that's what you have to have, man, whether you're a player's coach or not. If they believe in your message and you stay true to it, well, young people will follow you, do a lot of things, and maybe start winning a lot of games around here. That's what we're hoping.
DeMarcus did retweet the Florida State football tweet about beating North Carolina, but then later on tweeted simply, Jimbo, 2 exclamation points. And Jalen
genuine happy.
Jimbo
Fisher,
what
did Jalen tweet?
Jimbo Fisher, all caps, led team with a big win and flashing the rock star horns. I guess, your pinky and your thumb and your forefinger being up. Like,
I don't know what that is. But I feel like that's genuine happiness for their old coach.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
And that's not something that maybe even if he was your coach and y'all won a lot of games, that doesn't happen with everyone. You know what I mean? I think there's some genuine
they're happy for him, man.
Affection there.
Yeah, they're happy.
But that's what I'm saying. You wouldn't think of Jimbo as a player's coach, but his players did at least initially.
They liked him. I know they did. I wasn't letting the Jimbo Chronicles change my mind. I knew it.
Oh,
I knew it, Corey. I knew it.
Sure. No, I especially the Jalen Ramsey of the world really liked Jimbo. He probably a lot more different. He probably had a much different relationship than Burt Reed with Jimbo. But those guys, I think more than anything, did respect him. Those guys, the guys that Jimbo was a great football coach. That Jimbo, Florida State, truthfully, got gypped the last year and a half, 2 years that Jimbo was here. He is a good football coach. I mean, this isn't an accident. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think he's Nick Saban, but who is? He is a good football coach that just turned the switch off for about a year and a half. And, now he's at A&M, and he's showing he's a good football coach. But the players respect that, man. Players respect guys that are good at their jobs. And players respect guys that are true to who they are and don't change on a whim, don't change with the wind. And I think Norvell, that when going back to the initial conversation we had, Norvell saying the stuff he was saying in that press conference, I think they believe that, man. Like, and he definitely believes it. They're still going to work. They're not taking any bows. They're 2-4. It's not a time to take bows and say how great we are, and he knows that. And you hope that the players know that. We won't. It's a weird thing, though, right, Aslan? Like, I was thinking about this. Like, they get the week off. Mm-hmm. You wonder about the big head syndrome, which how could you have a big head when you're 2-4? But it happens, right? They got a big head after almost winning a game against Notre Dame. So, but it's so weird because they get a week off and then they play UMass. So how much do you really learn from the UMass game, do you think? As far as where their mindset is.
Well, yeah, if they hang half 100 on them and win like 52-6. Although, I mean, they beat
that's a
Toledo.
Good sign, right? Yeah.
I mean, listen, Toledo beat them 45-7. I'm not trying to use Toledo as any sort of barometer for where we want to be. But, yeah, I mean, go out there and win a game the way Florida State wins games against, FCS teams because UMass is pretty much an FCS team and an FBS, outfit. So, yeah, go do something like that.
But my point was that, like, man, John Gruden's gone. That's
it happened?
Crazy.
Right?
Yeah, I sent you that tweet like 40 right before we started recording, and now he's already been fired. They're parting ways.
How did he? I mean,
the real story. Well, there's a bunch of real stories there, and you guys, if you don't know yet, you'll see it all over your. Like, that's the question. How did that happen? They were doing a review of all these emails, and it's like the Washington football team. Because they were emails to the then GM or president.
Bruce Allen, because they were buddies.
Yeah.
They worked together in Tampa.
But why were they looking at his emails? And why did Washington give them to? I mean, man, that's crazy.
Well, Washington was under. I don't. I mean, it makes sense if Washington football team's under investigation for stuff that's going on. They're going to check the emails of all the people that work there. So if Gruden sent him an email, then that's going to get caught. in the net. But
here's the question: who in that investigation was like, who needs this? These emails are crazy. They don't have anything to do with our investigation necessarily,
right, yeah.
But they're crazy. Who needs to see this? The New York Times. Like who did Gruden piss off that they decided to leak those things? But yeah, that's what a 24 hours, 48 hours that was for him. Man, I forgot my train of thought. You were saying something. I was actually interested in it.
UMass.
Oh. Yeah, so, but you said that if they beat them 52-6, that's a good sign. It is. But I think the talent disparity is even much greater, I think, than the Jacksonville State game. So they can still play a B- game and win by 30. And I also think they want to play a lot of young guys. But then you go from UMass to Clemson, right?
I'm not scared. This ain't Deshaun Watson, Trevor Lawrence, Clemson. Clemson, by the way.
No, I got you. But they're still going to be
14-point favorite at Syracuse. That's going to be one of the questions I'm going to ask you here in a minute when we do our ad read for my book.
Okay.
So be ready.
So, but my point being, you go from the worst team in the FBS, like literally, I guess UConn is.
Yes.
So UMass is the second worst team in the FBS to Clemson. So that's a big spectrum. That's a wide. That's
I like
two opposite ends of the spectrum.
I think it's opening.
But how do you know?
Like,
how do you gauge what if they built on the North Carolina game?
By the way, they play against Clemson.
And if they took it seriously, if they're still working hard. Right, but they could still lose to Clemson by multiple touchdowns and be a better team and have gotten better. Like that's a pretty big mismatch on one side of the ball. That's going to be tough.
I don't know. I don't think so. Because I think if you keep it close,
my point
that
was
shows
like
the growth. Go ahead.
If they were playing like at Wake this week or Louisville this week or their next game, I think that would be a much better barometer of how much where the program actually is than a crazy game against the worst team in the country and then a game against a perennial playoff team. Like those are so two ends of the spectrum. And so I hopefully if they play Clemson well, obviously we know that this is really taking hold. But even if they don't play well, I don't think that eliminates what they did the three games prior. That was my point. That was all. It was a stupid point. We should have kept talking about Gruden.
MyBookie.ag. Use that promo code WARCHANT and go to MyBookie because where you bet is just as important as who you bet on. So that's why you should go to MyBookie. And the lock of the season is back. I don't talk about this enough. Folks, there's going to be a hockey game later tonight. Vegas, Seattle. If either team scores, which is an absolute certainty, you will win. You heard right. Somebody just got to score. Once. Anybody. Doesn't matter who. Doesn't matter how. Take the easy win. Bet on it. Win. Pat yourself on the back, and then use those winnings towards your NFL picks for week six, which includes some big-time games. Cardinals taking on the Browns. Former Oklahoma greats going heads up against one another. That'll be cool. Don't miss out on winning season. Head to MyBookie. Use that promo code WARCHANT to get your deposit for the first time doubled. Promo code, again, WARCHANT to double your funds. All right, Corey, I'm going to give you 3 games. Clemson, 14-point favorite at the Carrier Dome.
Man, I like that Syracuse team's not a bad football team. Man, 14 on the road. So I just think even if it's 17-0, I foresee them covering.
Okay. Florida at LSU. It's noon. Florida favored by 10.
10 points on the road. And has Florida ever been? Since the Spurrier days, they've been favored by that much at LSU. I'm taking the home dog in that one, I guess.
15
I'm taking the home dog.
Okay. 15 seconds. Miami, 7-point underdog at North Carolina. No more De'Aaron King. He's done for the season.
Yeah, that's big news, huh? Carolina.
MyBookie.ag. Use the promo code WARCHANT. Let's talk about the defense, I guess, on the way out. Corey, YouTube is a tough place to win. It's tough to win on the internet. YouTube is especially difficult to win on. Adam Fuller got some pretty, positive comments, relatively speaking, on YouTube. People kind of maybe believing in what he can do. Again, I don't think he was telling these guys to get burnt. I don't know what changed with the defense. Gene, credit to him. I think Gene asked 2 different ways, trying to figure out hey man, can you let us know what is going on and how you've changed everything around pretty much ever since the first half of that Louisville game. He seems a little bit more relaxed, so good for him. And I still don't know what the future holds for him. But if they if they continue to play well like this and only lose, 2 games. I don't know, let's not go that way. But just, I guess, anything catch your ear was you were feverishly typing out every single word coming out of Adam Fuller's mouth on Monday?
I liked that there were two parts. There were the parts where he talked about fake confidence. And I just pulled up the quotes that I typed out. He's like, you can't fake confidence. You can try, but it's going to be empty when it really comes down to it. Meaning, you can have all the false bravado and confidence and swag in the world on third down, but if you're used to getting torched on third down, it doesn't matter. But now these guys have actually made plays on third downs. Like he pointed out, Howell was better with beat him more with his legs than his arms, but he was cool with that. He's like, if you got to pick something, that's what we want. He wasn't cool with it. I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't frame it like that. But, they would have preferred him to make plays with his legs than beating him over the top. So I thought that was a good, the false confidence. He thinks they might be developing some real confidence on that defense because they have made plays, and they made plays on third down. And he brought up the Deloach play. I think it was Deloach. I can't remember if we talked about this yesterday or not, about on that 4th down play where Howell rolled out to his left. He's like, because he was talking about the interception, that was a big play, and then the 4th down stop. He's like, look, the interception's a great play. It's a big play. It was critical. But that 4th down play, it was everybody doing their job right.
Yes.
Everybody, all 11. Knowles got the pass breakup, but it was Deloach diagnosing the scramble to the right and immediately running to a spot to cut. He triggered and kept Howell from running into the end zone, and there was another defender right there, so he had to throw it, and Knowles was right where he should be. That's how it's supposed to look. So I thought that was good. That he did seem like to be in a better mood, and I liked what he said about Norvell, about how he likes working with Norvell because he knows Norvell is just trying to win the game. I know that sounds goofy. They all are. But there are some offensive-minded coaches that they don't care if the defense is exhausted. They don't care if the defense is terrible. They're going to run at their pace. You figure it out on your end. If we score in 3 plays, we score in 3 plays. Big deal. You figure it out. He said Norvell, much like Jimbo used to always preach, Norvell knows that it all works together. They complement each other, the offense and the defense. And so those long drives for the offense were a big deal to the defense. They helped them stay fresh. And the defense being able to get off the field a few times was helpful to the offense. So I thought that was interesting how he talked about his relationship with Norvell and how Norvell really gets that it's all about winning the game. It's not about seeing how fast you can score necessarily. And if the offense is having a really good game and it has them off balance, he will push the pace. But if they're struggling a little bit, he'll pull it back. He has a good, or if the defense is playing well, he'll cater the game plan towards that, or vice versa. So I don't know. I thought that was interesting enough. I love you, Adam. I love you, buddy.
You gonna go to Athens this weekend? Kentucky.
I'm genuinely contemplating it. Like, Brady's never been to a game at Georgia. I haven't been to one. Man, I haven't been in that stadium probably in 25 years.
What?
20-something years? Yeah.
Jeez.
How
far is it
I've been
from
to a few Georgia
the Clark
games.
Estate?
It's 40 minutes.
Jeez.
I'm right there. So, yeah, I very well might, man. I think that'd be cool for Brady to see that. Probably be a little different atmosphere than the one he experienced in Chapel Hill. I'll take him to but then if I took him to a basketball game in Chapel Hill, that'd be a little bit different than if I took him to Stegman Coliseum at Athens for a basketball game. So, yeah, I might do that. I'm thinking about that. I don't get a Saturday off a lot with my son. When Georgia's at home playing another undefeated team, we might make the venture up there, my man.
How about that? UMass noon practice this week today and Wednesday starting 30 minutes later than usual.
Yeah.
I got to go play Powerball.
Things are coming up roses, aren't they? And I know most people don't like the noon games. I get it.
We do.
We're being very selfish when we talk about that.
Yes.
I know 3:30 games are the best. You might even like night games, but it is UMass. And we'll talk about it next week. But if you're in town, go to the game. This team all of a sudden, like, wasn't that fun to watch, Aslan? Just a fun game to watch, not just because they win. Like, I didn't think the Syracuse game was all that fun to watch. No. That was a lot of knots in your stomach and a lot of head shaking about some things you saw. But I thought that North Carolina game was an actual fun Florida State football game to watch.
Dude, did Travis run? Did his touchdown make it 14-10?
Yes.
When he ran?
Yeah.
I'm being honest. Like, and people can roll their eyes. Like, I'm like, they're going to win this game. Like, I didn't think they were going to win like in that impressive a fashion. But yeah, again, man, that was. And Norvell said it, like, that was the cleanest game they've probably had since they've been here. Like, it was a no-doubter.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds crazy because Florida State's found themselves up big in certain games. But that's usually before these guys got here and then found ways to blow them. But, yeah, just North Carolina didn't know they didn't know how to stop the run. And Jordan Travis just throwing the ball wherever he wanted to. Guys were making catches. That was an extremely fun game. There was a lot of booms, a lot of excitement in my group texts. So,
and that's you mentioned it in the ad read, but De'Aaron King being out, I mean, I think Florida State, depending on how the next few weeks go, they might be favored in that game now.
Yeah,
like it'll be close. I mean, that's because it was winnable anyway because he wasn't himself. He just wasn't moving well. He didn't look like himself anyway. But that's an eminently winnable game now.
Yeah, and
I think NC State and Boston College are underdogs in both those games, but you're not. You were a 20-point underdog in this last one, but you have a chance now to get to, I mean, at least 5 wins, right?
I think 5 gets
maybe
into
5
a bowl
wins.
game too. 5 gets into a bowl game too, I think.
Yeah, and it probably would with this team. I think they would accept it anyway. I think they'd accept the invitation.
Absolutely, they need to practice.
Yeah,
I mean, whoever wants to declare and shut it down, do that. But everybody else. Jarvis Brownlee could use 15 more practices, and so could, Maurice Smith if he's healthy. Not to pick on these guys, but you know what I'm saying. This team could use 15 more practices for sure. So
absolutely. That's how big that win was. Yeah. But that was how big that win was to me. It completely changed the complexion of the season. Yeah. It's still not good. It's not going to be what we hoped. It's not going to be a Florida State type season. It probably, it almost certainly won't be a winning season. Probably not even a bowl season. But as bad as it was, as I said the other day, like those lows were so low. It was as low as it's ever been, that Jacksonville State game. That's as low as the Florida State, in my opinion, has ever been. An absolute low point. Since I've been alive, I should say. And then now, what is it? A month later, you just pulled off probably the biggest point spread upset in Florida State history. You're staring at a 3-game winning streak. And you kind of like this football team. You don't like them like you like the 13 team. You're not gonna sit around and reminisce about this team 20 years later or to your kids. But you kind of like watching this football team. It's got a little what for. And old Fabian Levitt's letting other people start in his place. Let's go, baby. Let's go.
Let us go to practice. We'll have updates and reaction from Mike Norvell and selected players available on our YouTube page as well as warchant.com. And then Seminole Headlines 1 to 3 p.m. live on YouTube TV. That's our YouTube channel, as well as 93.3 FM in Tallahassee. So we'll see you and talk to you then. At least one half of the show will. And we'll do this in the morning for you on Wednesday. We'll do a live show as well Wednesday evening. Probably not going to do a show on Friday, everybody. We need to get ready, too. Have you seen the schedule second half of the year? You got to rest up, too. So
That's right.
We'll do Renegade Express for you folks on Wednesday. So post your questions. The thread will be up. He's Corey Mazalon. Thank you so much for listening to this show. It's called Wake Up Warchant. It is fueled by DeLuna Coffee. Come explore our world of coffee. DeLuna Coffee features over 24 different blends. DeLuna's unique roasts can be delivered ground finely for drip coffee makers, coarse for the craft crowd, untouched as a whole bean, or even in convenient K-Cups. Founded in 2014 by the Lemmix family, Ed and Brett are FSU alums and boosters who are extending a special offer to all listeners. Use the promo code WARCHANT15 for a 15% discount. Visit DeLunaCoffee.com and check out their Facebook and Instagram.